Hull City games by far the most entertaining of all the 24 Championship sides, and goals aren't going to be a problem this season, but just what is going on in that midfield? We've got Ben, Elliot, Jack and Matty to give their thoughts on that performance at Loftus Road. How are you all doing? Great to see you. If you're new to this channel, it's a Hull City 20-minute chat with, some entertaining Tigers fans. Ben, where do we start on picking that QPR? Let's start with the obvious bit. What's going on with the midfield?
I don't know. I think it seems to be every other game we have a quite solid performance, and then the next game it just completely falls apart. And obviously, Crooks getting a yellow on the weekend is going to mean he misses Ipswich on Tuesday, so that's a pretty big loss. But on the flip side, we've got Lundstrom to come back in, but whether he's ready for a full 90 is another story. So, yeah, I think generally the midfield and defence probably needs the most work because we see each game we're conceding at least 2-3 goals. So, yeah, it is a massive glaring issue because we're scoring but also conceding an absolute ton. So, yeah, I think that is what we need to really focus on if we are to try and stay where we are at the minute in the top 6. I think it might be a bit out of our reach, but it's definitely possible because we see how tight the league is. It's like 3 points between us and QPR now, who are at like mid-table. So yeah, it's tricky to pinpoint on one thing, but the midfield has been quite poor in the last couple of games, I think.
Matty, is it personnel or is it positioning? As to why QPR got, was it 25 shots at your goal on Saturday?
It was, well, I just think it was just like Ben said. I think it was just down to bad performance. We give away the ball so much in that we didn't retain possession at all. Maybe it is down to personnel. I mean, we have been struggling. That midfield area hasn't been unchanged for the last, what have we had, the last 3 or 4 games. That I know we've had an international break, and that shouldn't really affect it. But maybe that is it. I know you strive for consistency in that midfield, but we haven't really got that consistency. We've had 4 or 5 half decent games where they've kind of been in control and looked the business. I mean, Slater has been excellent, but Saturday was probably one of the poorest games he's had this season. Amir just kept giving the ball away. Crooks was very lucky to kind of stay on the pitch in terms of that, but we haven't really got that many options. Who's going to come on into that midfield to kind of replace them? Hopefully Lundstrom come back and add a little bit more experience into there. But we just got to put it down to perspective. We're still where we are. We are conceding a lot of chances, but it's entertaining football, isn't it? That's what we've all been crying out for over the last 3 years. So as harsh as it is, let's just write this one off. I think we've said this when we had a defeat. Write it off. Move on to the next one. 2 massive games coming up this week where we can potentially get quite easily another 6 points, 4 points, and we'll be happy with that. So yeah, I'm not too concerned.
Jack, you want to mention Destin?
Yeah, good to see him get his first goal. I mean, it was put on a plate for him by Giles, but again, the finish and the composure to get it in the back of the net and to get off the mark is great for him. It'll do him some good for his confidence. I think he's playing up front as well yesterday as well. So let's hope we've got another man other than Jersey who can get up front and actually stick the ball in the back of the net. So that's all we need at the moment. But if we're going to analyse us at the moment as a club, I saw a stat the other day saying that we've conceded the most goals and we've conceded the most shots after taking the lead. I think we've faced 100 shots since taking the lead in the game. It's baffling how we've got this many points. But like Mike said, it's entertaining football. Panda's heart rate must be absolutely through the roof when we're playing games, especially against that Portsmouth game. They were absolutely. I didn't watch it, but I watched the highlights and we were getting absolutely hammered. But if we're getting the points, if we're getting the wins and we're scoring goals, then that's all that matters. We did get promised this heart attack entertaining football, and it's finally here. I just think we need to slightly tighten up a little bit and make sure that Panda has an easy game.
I'm not going to show any tweets this week, Elliot, because of all the ones that I found, they were all directed towards venom towards one player, and it's a player we keep mentioning on here in Kyle Joseph. Some actually quite nasty ones this week. What's your take on it? Is this a confidence thing, or is he just not at this level? Full stop.
To be fair, I saw the reaction last night, and that he'd missed, quite a good opportunity. But I've seen it back today, and to be fair, I do sympathise with him a little bit because it's a ball coming in quite quick, and I do think he's done everything right in terms of making contact, getting it on target. He's just a bit too close to the keeper, and maybe he could do better putting it to either side. But I think he's done a lot right there, and I don't think he's had a lot. I think in those situations, if he has a bit more time or a bit more luck, he'd maybe score a few more. So I think for that, it's a bit harsh, but especially maybe more in the Portsmouth game where he was through and maybe should have scored, and there's other instances as well. I do think he could do better, but I think it's maybe a bit harsh yesterday, especially for that opportunity. I do think he was maybe a bit unlucky as well, just with it being one of them point blank situations where he had to get his body on the line, and unfortunately it didn't go in. But he does need to try and add some more goals to his game, so there's less criticism of that aspect of his game, because everything else he does, I think, is fantastic.
We're going to mention the main man, Ben, again, Joffrey.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been evident that how important he is, and obviously Sergei has said in the last week or so that he wants to buy him at the end of the season, and he's going to do as much as he can to make that happen. So fingers crossed that does happen at the end of the season, because he's been by far, I suppose McBurney is there, but by far the best player. Obviously the last 7 or 8 games he's got at least 1 goal contribution. He blanked against Derby, and then every other game he's either scored or assisted. So yeah, he's just been absolutely fantastic, and I think he's filled what we've missed from McBurney perfectly, and that's goals, and he's scoring them so regularly now.
Ipswich to come then, Matty, and Stoke on the weekend. Of course, by the time this goes out, Ipswich will be done and dusted. I'll focus on Stoke then. I won't be putting any money on this one. Did you take a draw at the Bet365?
Yeah, it's a strange one, Stoke, because I think we've actually done quite well there. Last season was one of the better performances under Walter when we were there. We actually got a decent result there, and we have previously. And then when they come to our place, we always end up losing there. So it's kind of a reverse fixture every time we play them. But yeah, I think so. I think so. But I think we was just saying earlier, I think if we do concede so many chances against the there's no disrespect to QPR, but we conceded 3 against them. But if we against these quality teams, Ipswich that are coming up a banging form at the moment. Stoke have had a few rocky results, but they've got quality. And if we give up so many chances against these teams, we are going to come unstuck. So it's about a case of, and Saturday was a prime example. Is you get 2-1 ahead instead of going for it like 3-1, which we probably do want. Entertaining football. It's a case of, do we just shop a little bit and take it and get the points position that we're in at the moment? Do we do that? So be interesting to see how we go against Stoke. I'd like to see Ajari come back in and kind of just give us that physical presence in defence. Egan didn't have his greatest game, but he's been pretty consistent in that. But yeah, I think any of the top 6, if you're coming away with a point from any of those teams, I think you'd be happy with that. So yeah, take that, and 4 points this week would be ideal, an ideal kind of turnaround from 2 really tricky fixtures.
Okay. This week, Jack, the Optus supercomputer has predicted where each team is going to finish. It's given Hull just a 6.1% chance of finishing in the top 6. Based on what you've seen from your team and those around us, would you agree that the supercomputer is spot on?
No, I never trust sources from AI or from the internet or anything. I just they don't watch the games, obviously, and they just do it based on points and statistics and facts and things like that. They're not always spot on. It's about how you play throughout the season. If you're in form you get more points and you get up the league. So I just think where we are at the moment, how far are we into now? We're like a third at least into the season or something. If we're sixth and a third way through, what's stopping us from staying there for the next 2/3? I mean, it's great at the moment. I just think we really do need McBurney back and Miller and Rataza. I mean, what's going on with McBurney at the moment? He was promised back against Portsmouth and he was promised back against QPR. Now it's apparently Stoke. So there's something going on behind that. But get those back in the squad. Sign Joffrey on permanent in January. And then who knows? We could go places. But yeah, that 6.1% chance of getting top six, I don't trust it at all. From what we've seen so far as a club and the way it's going for us at the moment. I mean, we lost on the weekend, but we're still top six because of other clubs as well. We all have blips, and we're going in the right direction at the moment. Just need to make amends on Tuesday, get a point, or at least a point or two against Stoke, point or three against Stoke, sorry, and we'll be flying. So yeah, we don't need to worry just yet.
You may have seen in the week that Nigeria, Elliot failed to progress. And the reason for that it was because the penalty shootout was Semi Ajayi missed his penalty shootout. I don't know if you saw it. Goalkeeper saved it, but do you see that perhaps having an effect on his game back at Hull? And do you feel for him?
Yeah, I feel bad for him. Yeah, obviously for it to go to the World Cup as well. Obviously, it'd be such a big honour for anyone to represent the countries there. But it's like one of the cliches, sort of. It's football, and these things happen. I hope it doesn't affect him in a negative way. Hopefully, it gives him that impetus to try and improve and work and be playing as he has been for us in the games we've seen of him. He's been quite good for us, especially at the start of the season. He was magnificent, and when he's come back, he's put some good performances in as well. So hopefully, it can give him the chance to bounce back, and hopefully show Nigeria that it can continue to pick him, because at the end of the day, he's a defender as well. So it's not necessarily his speciality to be scoring the goals. So hopefully, it's not too negative for him.
Okay. One other bit of news, Ben, is that Farrell Brown, since we last spoke, has moved to Hartlepool on a loan. We've only seen his name appear, I think, on the substitutes bench. Why do you think he's not been able to break into the team?
Is this the one that went viral with the dodgy picture of his cut in half? Yeah. I think it's probably one of them where he's still very young. Obviously, he's one of the top players in our academy when he plays for them, but he's just not really had a chance in the first team. And I think, in fairness, he's not really. I think we've had the players there that have been able to fill in rather than relying on the youth players. Obviously, at times we've seen McCarthy play, but I think we've not really needed to go all the way back into the academy players because we've had the depth. And I think it's probably best for him to go out on a loan, because if he's not getting minutes and he's not playing as regularly as he was in the academy, then why not send him out on loan? And hopefully it's a good move for him, because we saw in pre-season how talented he is and how good he could possibly be for City. So I think it's a good move for him, because obviously he'll get the minutes that he quite clearly deserves.
Right, we're up to the letter G in our A to Z this week, so that's got us thinking about, of course, G for goalkeepers and goals. In terms of goalkeepers, we've been doing the best of Hull City, so we thought we might just flip it on its head this week, Matty, and think about the worst. Can you remember the worst ever goalkeeper to play for Hull? And we'd love you in your chat to have a think about this and let us know.
I have had the very unfortunate pleasure of witnessing a goalkeeper called Ian Hesford play for Hull City, who was nicknamed the Flying Potato because he was that bad. He was awful. We swapped him for. We had Tony Norman in the time. And he ended up going to Sunderland, and Tony Norman was outstanding. I think he's just been inducted into the Hall of Fame as well, City Hall of Fame. Absolutely unbelievable goalkeeper. But he went to Sunderland, and the swap deal, we got the Flying Potato. and he was absolutely dreadful. He were off. He's the worst goalkeeper I have ever seen in my life. Sorry, Ian, if he ever tunes in, but he'll say he wasn't the greatest. So I would say him for me in what I've seen in my generation. I think probably the one that probably sticks in my hand is Marshall. Is it Marshall that we got from Cardiff that came in? Who was outstanding for Cardiff, and he came to us and he was absolutely dreadful. He's probably the worst I've seen. But apart from that, those two, if anybody else can name any, I'll pass it on over to the lads.
Okay, you three.
To be fair, I find it quite hard because I think we've had quite a few goalkeepers who are quite decent, really. But I think names that come to my mind in the last few years, George Long, I think, started quite well for us, but then sort of was one of them players that sort of lost his form during the COVID period, and then he lost his place to Ingram. So I'd maybe say for that, because a few things did stick in my mind, like mistakes-wise. I suppose a few people might want to say Alsop for like the other season. People, I personally don't think he was necessarily to blame as much as some other people did, but he's maybe another one who would be up there in terms of recent memory, in terms of his shot stopping, because his distribution was great. But apart from that, to be fair, I sort of struggle because like I think there's been a few decent servants like Ingram, obviously Pandas, I think is a good shot stopper. McGregor was decent enough at the time, and obviously Jakupovic and players like that. But I'd probably say Long, but it is maybe a bit harsh. But equally, since he's left City, he's not really ever got into any other team.
Okay. Any more in the chat? Let us know. No, we're all done. Okay, we are maxed out. Dodgy goalkeepers. How's Pando done at the moment, Jack? Are we happy with him again now?
I mean, he pulled off some excellent saves against QPR, so I think he redeemed himself. I mean, the goals we conceded were
unlucky.
Defense. Yeah, unlucky.
Unlucky.
Deflections, defense. The first goal, I think I think QPR player had far too much space. So I think it was up to the defenders on Saturday. I don't think Panda could have really done much by either goal, but it stopped us from conceding at least 2 or 3 more. So yeah, Panda played well. He played well against Portsmouth. He did well in that last period to stop all the shots. So yeah, a player who's a goalkeeper who can face 25 or 20, was it 28 shots on target and only concede 3. So.
He also got called up for Croatia as well during the week.
Croatia,
he was on the bench. He was on the bench for Croatia, so he must be doing something right along those lines. And I think, like Jack said, Saturday, I thought it was excellent. I thought he had an excellent game in terms of, he was unlucky with the goals, but like he pulled off some fantastic saves. So hopefully he's back to his best, because we're going to need him conceding 50 goals, 50 shots a game.
Right then, to finish off then, as you know, we've been doing the A to Z of Hull City. We're up to letter G this week. Ben, who gets in it for you?
I think there is one very, very obvious one, but I won't take that one. I'll let the lads discuss that if they want to. My honourable mention is Jacob Greaves, because when he was at City, he was by far my favourite player, and I just thought he was fantastic for us. It's a shame that he's not really... He seems to have fallen out of favour at Ipswich, which is a real shame, because I think he is a really, really top quality centre-back for the Championship. And yeah, I think just the fact that he's a local lad, he came back, unfortunately for him, to watch City last season while he was playing in the Prem, which was something that stands out to me. Obviously, someone that has such a love for the club, even though he's left and he's in the Premier League. I think Greaves is an honourable mention, but I think there is one that I'm sure the lads will pick out.
Yep. Jack?
I think Giovanni. I mean, he joined the club when I was born, so I don't know much of him, but from what I've seen in the clips and the famous goals he scored, he was just an incredible servant to the club. So I'll probably leave Matty to explain more about him, but the creativity and the way he played, from what I've seen, is just fabulous to have. So yeah, over to Matty.
Yeah, I think Giovanni is probably the obvious one. I think, that season when we got promoted, and I think we talked about him previous. I mean, getting him on a free transfer from Man City, and he played at Barcelona, and that start to that season, the first Premier League season where we scored in the first game against Fulham. He scored that unbelievable free kick at Tottenham, and then he scored just cutting in against Arsenal when we beat Arsenal as well. They are memorable moments that I just don't think, we haven't had anything. I don't think we've ever had a Brazilian apart from him play. He's the only maybe we've had a couple, but like he was absolute magic that season, and he's the main reason that we stayed up. So Giovanni is a great shout, and just to back up what Ben's saying with Greaves as well in terms of his legacy, I suppose, because his dad played as well, Mark Greaves. I was around and fortunate enough to see him play when it was in the 90s, and he was a very good player as well. So Greaves, I suppose, is a legacy, but for me, it would have to be Giovanni. He was absolutely electric that first season in the Premier League, and if it wasn't for him, we'd have just gone straight back down. So yeah, he would get my vote.
Okay. Any more? Okay.
I'll chuck a couple just of names in there. I think Giovanni should win, but I had Grzycki, obviously, as a sort of like a cult hero, and he had a couple of really good years for us. And then I suppose Gellert and Giles at the moment, if you focus on this season, are sort of standouts. But I think Giovanni should win.
Right, then finally, just a quick one. Will Philogene get a nice reception on Tuesday night?
I don't see why he shouldn't.
Probably. Yeah, probably. I don't think we do intimidating, do we? Really? So,
No.
I mean, he might get a few boos, but I don't think so. And you know what? He had a good season, didn't he, with us? So I've got no gripes about him. He's a quality player, but I just don't think he's ever matched, has he, what he did with us that season? No. I just don't think he's quite matched that. So maybe he won't. He'll continue that, and he won't find his whole City magic and run his ring round us on Tuesday. I think hopefully not.
All right. Cheers, you four, for this week. Thank you, of course, so much for joining us. We'll see you next week when we look back at Ipswich and Stoke. Cheers for watching.